If a cop tells you, "We got a call," what would you say before anything else? Most drivers start talking. Then your normal traffic stop turns into a full investigation. And once you answer questions, you can't take those words back. Hit subscribe right now because what I'm about to show you could save you from jail. Smash like too, so this video is easy to find when you get pulled over. Let me show you exactly how to handle that moment. Listen closely because this is critical. Most people have no idea that your first 10 seconds decide how long you'll be stuck there. You don't need to argue. You don't need to panic. You just need the right script, said calmly, word for word. Here's the reality. "We got a call" is often the start of an attempt to expand the stop. They might search your car. They might ask personal questions. They might try to get you to consent or admit something. That's the trap. The more you talk, the more probable cause they claim they found. Then your case stops being about traffic and starts becoming criminal. In this video, you'll learn 4 moves. First, you'll force clarity about whether you're detained. Second, you'll refuse searches with one simple sentence. Third, you'll shut down questioning without being rude. Fourth, you'll stop signing or volunteering anything that can be used against you. Let me show you exactly how it goes in real life, plus the court cases in plain English. Most drivers don't use these lines because they're scared. You don't have to be. Watch what happens when you stay in control instead of giving away your rights. Here's the problem setup. You're driving, you get pulled over, and everything feels normal at first. Then the officer steps back and says something like, "We got a call." Maybe it's about a complaint. Maybe it's about your car. Maybe it's about your name. Then they look at you like you should explain everything right now. Most people do the same thing every time. You automatically answer. You try to sound helpful. You say, "What call?" You explain where you've been. You say, "I don't know anything." You keep talking to clear it up. But here's what most drivers miss. The officer is not trying to understand your story. They're trying to build their next step. If your explanation creates suspicion, they'll use it. If your answers don't match their hunch, they'll escalate. This is 100% legal. You can refuse to make things worse for yourself. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos. The pattern is always the same. The driver talks first, the driver consents next, then the driver wonders how it got so bad so fast. And I don't want that for you. The first tactic is this. Lock in your status before you answer anything. When the officer says, "We got a call," don't jump into conversation. You slow it down. You make it clear that you know the difference between being detained and being free. Here's exactly what you say. "Am I being detained or am I free to leave?" Word for word. Memorize that line. Why this works in simple English. It forces the officer to treat you like a real legal question, not a friendly chat. It also stops you from oversharing. Because once you keep talking, it's easy for them to claim you were acting nervous, admitting something, or not cooperating. But if you're asking a clean, direct question, you're not volunteering anything. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Sure, what's going on?" Then they start explaining and create confusion. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Am I being detained or am I free to leave?" Then you stay focused, and the stop stays about the actual traffic issue. Watch what happens next. If you're just being detained briefly for the stop, the officer usually keeps it short. If they want more time, that question makes it harder to quietly expand the stop without saying why. Either way, you're not handing them your own evidence. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings about how seizures and questioning work. You don't need fancy law terms. You just need the right tone. Calm, clear, no arguing. Your job is to keep your words from becoming their case. And yes, this is 100% legal. You're not refusing a lawful command. You're asking for clarity. You're not being disrespectful. You're just protecting yourself. Former police officers have confirmed this works. They've said the same thing over and over. Drivers who ask clean questions do better than drivers who talk themselves into trouble. Here's the reality too. Even if the officer gets annoyed, your calm question still matters. It creates a record of you staying composed and not volunteering details. Now, here's the engagement question. Have you ever been asked something after "We got a call"? Drop a comment and tell me what the officer said and what you answered. I'll tell you what I would have said in your situation. The second tactic is the consent trap. When cops say, "We got a call," they often pivot fast into, "Can we search your car?" Or, "We're just going to take a look real quick." Or, "It's policy." Or, "We have a reason." Or, "It'll be faster if you cooperate." This is where you stop the bleeding. You do not debate. You do not explain. You do not let them turn no consent into a fight about whether you seem suspicious. Here's exactly what you say. "I do not consent to any searches." Word for word. Memorize it. Why it works in simple English. Consent is permission. If you don't give permission, they need another lawful reason to search. That might mean a warrant, or probable cause, or something else that's not just because we asked nicely. You're forcing them to rely on real legal requirements instead of your agreement. Good people think, If I just let them look, it'll go away. But listen closely because this is critical. What's going away is not the officer's curiosity. It's your ability to stop the search. Once you consent, you've handed over control. Watch what happens when you don't consent. They can keep looking for a lawful basis. But you stop the easiest path. Your permission. That's your strongest protection in plain words. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Go ahead, I don't mind." Then they search and find something unrelated. Good way. Smart drivers say, "I do not consent to any searches." Then they either stop or they have to justify the search without your permission. This is 100% legal. You are allowed to refuse consent, even if the officer thinks it looks suspicious. Refusing consent is not a crime. It's a boundary. Let me show you exactly what to do in your body language, too. Keep your hands visible. Don't reach for anything like you're hiding it. But don't physically help with their search either. If they ask you to unlock something, you can respond without consenting. Keep it simple. Keep it short. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court, and they also warn clients about, "But officer, I have nothing to hide." Don't do that. Your nothing to hide becomes fuel. Instead, you give the sentence, then you stop talking. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. Consent is a superpower that officers try to get. Not because they must, but because it's easy. You make it hard. You make it official. You make it documented. If they say, "Why not?" you don't owe them a reason. You just repeat if needed. "I do not consent to any searches." And then you stay quiet. This next part is important. If they claim they're searching for safety, inventory, or plain view, you still don't volunteer explanations. You can say, "I understand," and you stay calm. You don't consent with your words. Now for tactic 2, keep your eyes on your own goal. Your goal is not to win an argument. Your goal is to avoid making their job easier. Watch what happens when you refuse the search. They either back off or they escalate with something that has to be lawful. Either outcome is better for you than consenting. Here's the third tactic. Shut down questioning without sounding like you're fighting. When the officer says, "We got a call," then they might start asking about your life. Where are you coming from? Who do you know? What's in the car? Do you have any weapons? Do you have drugs? Why are you out here? Most drivers think they need to answer so they don't look guilty, but your answers can turn into admissions. Even small answers can be twisted. Here's exactly what you say. "I want to remain silent. I'm not answering questions." Word for word. Why it works in simple English. It cuts off the information flow. The officer can still do the traffic stop steps. They can still ask for documents, unless you're invoking a specific right about that. But they can't turn your silence into proof. They have to rely on what they can legally observe. Here's the reality again. Silence forces the officer to either find something lawful or to release you. Talking often does the opposite. Talking creates more facts for them to use. Bad way. Most drivers say, "No, I'm clean, I swear," and then add details. Then those details get used against you. Good way. Smart drivers say, "I want to remain silent. I'm not answering questions." And then you keep your words out of their case and watch what happens. Officers sometimes get aggressive when you stay quiet. They might say, "This is your chance," or "Come on, just explain," or "If you have nothing to hide." That's emotional pressure. Don't get pulled into it. This is where your tone matters. You're not being rude. You're being clear. You're not begging. You're not angry. You say the line, then you stop talking. Former police officers have confirmed this works because they've seen how quickly drivers get trapped. They know when you invoke silence, you remove their easiest tool. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings, even when you're not reading rights. The idea is the same. You can choose not to answer questions that could incriminate you. Also, don't lie. If you lie, the officer can accuse you of dishonesty later. If you stay silent, you remove the risk of, "But you told me X." Let me show you exactly how to combine it with your earlier move. If they ask status, you use your status question. Am I being detained or am I free to leave? Then if they start asking personal questions, you switch to silence. "I want to remain silent. I'm not answering questions." Defense attorneys use this exact line in court. And they use it because it's clean, it's repeatable, it's hard for an officer to twist. Now, your retention challenge, most people already clicked away. If you're still here, you're in the top 10%. 90% of drivers don't know what to say. If you're serious about protecting your rights, drop a comment right now with one of these. Status question, no consent, or remain silent. I want to see who's really paying attention. The optional fourth tactic is about signatures and quick forms. After the officer questions you or tries to search you, they may ask you to sign something. Or they ask you to write a statement. Or they say, "Just sign here so we can clear this up." Sometimes they want you to acknowledge something. Sometimes they want you to agree to a search. Here's the mindset you need. Signing is giving. Signing is turning your words into paperwork. And once it's on paper, your mistake gets harder to fix. Here's exactly what you say. "I'm not signing anything. I want a lawyer." Why it works in simple English. You stop the paper trap. You force the situation into something where lawyers can properly handle it. You're not refusing to cooperate with lawful orders like documents. You're refusing to create new written statements that can be used against you. Bad way. Most drivers say, okay, I'll sign just to end the stress. And then that signature becomes proof in a later bad way. Most drivers say, okay, I'll sign just to end the stress. And then that signature becomes proof in a later dispute. Good way. Smart drivers say, I want a lawyer. I'm not signing anything. Then you stop giving extra ammo. This is 100% legal. You can request a lawyer. You can also refuse to sign under pressure. Here's how you keep it respectful. You can say, I understand before your line. You can keep your voice calm, but you don't add explanations. You don't say, I'm signing because I trust you. That can get twisted. Also, don't get baited into, then you must be hiding something. Your job is to make the officer deal with the legal process, not your emotions. If they threaten to escalate, stay steady. You're not unlocking doors with your panic. You're closing off the easiest way for the officer to expand the stop without proof. And if you already refused consent and stayed silent, this tactic ties the whole script together. You've stopped answering. You've stopped consenting. You've stopped signing. Now, your words can't be used as the foundation for an arrest. You're basically telling the officer, lawful steps only, no fishing. I want to make sure you don't overcomplicate this either. If you're nervous, just memorize the exact sentences. You can repeat them one time if needed, then you stop talking. Let me show you exactly why this matters in court later. Your calm refusal reduces the he seemed nervous narrative. Your silence prevents he admitted statements. Your non-consent prevents he agreed statements. And your refusal to sign keeps written admissions out of the record. Legal framework time, but I'll keep it simple. This is where your confidence comes from. Miranda versus Arizona. Plain English, your Fifth Amendment right to silence exists. Even if you're not under formal arrest, you don't have to answer questions. That connects to tactic 3, where you say, I want to remain silent. I'm not answering questions. Schneckloth v. Bustamante. Plain English, consent to search must be voluntary. If you don't consent, you didn't give permission. That connects to tactic 2. And again, this is 100% legal. Rodriguez v. United States. Plain English. Police can't automatically extend a traffic stop just to fish for other crimes. They need lawful reasons tied to the stop's mission. That connects to tactic 1, where you ask, am I being detained or am I free to leave? You're forcing clarity. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection. And why your short script matters? You're not being difficult. You're using your basic rights correctly. Now let's do a real scenario walkthrough. You'll see the wrong way first, then you'll see the right way, step by step, with the exact words. Imagine you're driving at night. You barely get pulled over for a small thing. The officer comes back to your window and says, license and registration. You hand it over. You're polite. Then the officer looks at you and says, we got a call. We're just checking. Wrong way. You panic, so you start talking. You say, what call? I don't know anything. You explain you were just passing through. Then you answer more questions. You also say, go ahead and look in the car. You talk about your cousin's visit. Then you're stuck longer. You end up with a search and found something becomes a nightmare. Bad way. Most drivers say, sure, what's the problem? Then they talk themselves into suspicion. Good way. Smart drivers say, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Then the officer has to clarify what they're doing and why. Right way? You keep your voice calm, or you look at the officer and say exactly, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Word for word. Then when they push, you don't get drawn into stories. They might ask, so what were you doing over there? You don't answer. You say, I want to remain silent. I'm not answering questions. Then you stop. Next, they might say, we're going to search your car. Your answer is not why. Your answer is not maybe. Your answer is not a debate. You say, I do not consent to any searches. Then you keep your hands where they can see them. If they say, sign this so we can document everything, you don't sign. You say, I'm not signing anything. I want a lawyer. Then you shut down the paper trap. Now compare outcomes clearly. In the wrong way, your words become their evidence. In the right way, your words become silence, boundaries, and a record. The stop is more likely to stay limited. The searches are less likely to be based on permission. Your future options improve. And if the officer still searches anyway, your refusal matters, because it shows you didn't consent. It also gives your attorney something strong to argue later. This is not about winning with bravado. This is about keeping you out of the worst case. Next, I want you to stay ready. In the next video, I'm revealing what to do about weed. Subscribe right now because that gets people arrested every single day, and you'll want the script. Quick recap so you remember this under stress. First, when they say, we got a call, you ask status. Am I being detained or am I free to leave? Second, you block the consent trap. I do not consent to any searches. Third, you stop the questioning. I want to remain silent. I'm not answering questions. Fourth, you avoid paperwork. I'm not signing anything. I want a lawyer. You just took control of your words, and your words are the difference between going home and going to court. Hit subscribe so you catch the weed smell response video next. Smash, like if this saved you from future mistakes. And drop a comment telling me which tactic you'll use first. Status, no consent, silence, or signing. Stay safe out there.